Today, I'm pleased to be joined by Gordon Stoddart, CEO and co-founder of the Recruitment Network, widely recognised as the leading community for recruitment leaders globally. With over 1,000 members and a team of 30, TRN provides cutting-edge tools, training and expert advice to help agencies drive productivity and profitability in an ever-evolving industry. Beyond running the business, Gordon works closely with recruitment business leaders within the TRN community, helping them navigate challenges and seize new opportunities. So I'm really looking forward to picking his brains on the biggest recruitment trends for 2025, what's dominating industry conversations, and his advice for agencies looking to scale this year. Welcome to Rise to Prominence, Gordon.
Thank you very much, Amber. Good to be here.
Great. Glad to have you on board. So let's start with TRN. Where did that come from? Tell us the story behind it.
So a couple of James Osborne and myself, who'd been business partners for about 10 years before we actually set up TRN, we were hanging out with a couple of recruitment business leaders, having a really good chat, both very successful. One of them did it in one way, the other did it in one way, in a different way. And we just kind of thought there's different ways to do things to build a successful business. Why don't we create something where we get a community of people together, all learning from each other? And I'd also been and still am a speaker for something called Vistage, which is the biggest CEO peer group in the world. And they just hang out together and they learn together and they challenge each other. And it just kind of felt that the recruitment industry, which is so fragmented, could really benefit from something where you focus on business problems and learn together, grew together. So it came from that. And 9 years later, coming up to our 10th anniversary, here we are.
Fabulous. So I touched on it there, over 1,000 members, 30 heads. What has made you so successful?
I think all we do is focus on what every business leader wants to spend their time investing in, which is how do you make the right decision to build the business you want to build, to achieve your ambition, and then how do you execute that decision. So we're very much focused on the challenges and the opportunities that our members have got. We're not lobbying. We're not there to represent them in any way. We're just here for their individual agendas. And actually, if you spend the time together talking about similar challenges that we've all got, whether that's marketing, selling, scaling, your team, whatever it is, then actually you're going to get a whole influx of great ideas from different people, all doing it in different ways. Some that you buy into, others that you don't. Either way, it challenges your thinking. And you kind of learn together. There's also a little bit of validation and security and, I guess, support. So if I know I'm running a recruitment business, I'm not the only one doing it. If I'm part of a community who are doing the same thing, then we can share stuff, share frustrations, share the things that aren't working, share the pain, but equally share some of the successes. And it's just a really fun community, very business focused, where you can get 1,000 people sharing their thoughts and ideas, plus add in your experts and the best suppliers in the industry, then that's a pretty cool formula.
Fab. So you're literally speaking to recruitment agencies every day.
I was thinking about it walking down here. I'll probably speak to about 80 recruitment business leaders a week.
Fab. So what are the good ones doing well? What's the one? Is there one thing, or is there lots of things?
Well, there's. They've all got different superpowers or things that they've focused on to help them stand out. But I think they have all worked out what it is they need to be different and stand out in their marketplace. I'm not a recruiter, but I confess that now. But it's a fascinating industry, and since we set this up 9 or so years ago, I haven't seen any what I would call true innovation. We're fundamentally doing the same thing, and therefore, if there's not innovation, you've got to be better. And if you're going to be better, you've got to work out what you're going to be better at. And I think all our members that are having a load of success now in 2025 after a tough year are the ones who've worked out the strategies that are going to help them stand out, both as an employer and equally, obviously, as a supplier to services to candidates and clients. So we're seeing a lot of really interesting moves that our members are making around community, and quite often they come and have a chat with us and say, how do you build your community? Because we want to build a community. In terms of relationships, how do I take that to the next level? In terms of pivoting slightly towards growth markets, because even though some markets might still be flat, there's opportunity out there. And I think they focus on the long game a little bit more. one of my observations when I first came into the industry is there's quite a lot of short-term focused, and yet every one of our members who's thriving, they've taken a long-term view about what they want to get really good at, and found their operating model, found their niche, found their strategy, and go for it, because none of it's an overnight. But there's always three. I've been convinced since I first started looking at this. There's three things that our most successful members have as traits, not in terms of what they do, but these are traits. And one is they've all got a learning culture. They've all got a curiosity about what other people are doing, really what the clients are trying to understand, what else is happening in the market, what's happening beyond the market. And they create that learning culture and growth mindset throughout the team. That's number one. Number two is the leadership piece. So if they've got an ambition to scale, and we've got a lot of successful solo operators, but for those members who've scaled successfully, they tend to invest for tomorrow rather than invest today when it comes from a leadership point of view. And we'll talk about some of the things maybe that stop people getting to where they want to get to. But if I overinvest in myself to become the leader I want to be down the line, then I'm more likely to become it. And equally, if I do need people to carry a bit of the leadership burden and get the strength and depth and of leadership in the team, then I can't turn it on in a quarter. So I've got to start planning for next year. And I think the third trait we definitely always see is around clarity. So they have utter clarity about what makes them stand out. They have clarity about their strategy, whether it's marketing, whether it's that BD, whether it's the niche that they want to become famous for it to be an expert in. They have clarity about the behaviours that underpin the values that create the culture. They have clarities about the operating model and the processes that are non-negotiable and that are going to happen to move them forward. And even though they're learning and evolving and getting better and making mistakes, they fundamentally know where they're going and how they're going to get there. So they have that kind of roadmap in place. And those three you see with everyone.
Yeah. So you talk to, like I said, solo recruiters, SMEs, all the way up to kind of multinational recruitment agencies. Yeah. Is that the same across whatever size business you are, or does that vary kind of depending on the size, like where they should put that focus?
I think obviously if you're a solo operator, then you need clarity of direction in terms of you can't spread yourself too thin as a solo operator. So what's my market? Where's my niche? Where am I going to become famous? What is my BD model, etc. As you come bigger, then you're trying to implement a strategy through more people, and therefore it becomes even more important to get that clarity about the way we do things. I was working with a member recently who have got a really cool strategy to move from transactional recruitment into talent solutions. And, they've got 80, 90 people, clearly to move from where they have been very successfully, and, they've scaled and built a superb, profitable, reputable, award-winning business. Then you've got to bring people with you, hence why the leadership piece comes into play. Because if I'm going to truly move into talent solutions, let's say, then I need 80, 90 people who know how to ask the question, who know how to properly consult, who know how to offer different solutions than the one they're typically looking at. So it just gets a bit more complicated when you're trying to do it through and with other people.
So touching on that, because I think that moving away from the transactional recruitment, becoming a consultant, a partner, talent advisory, I think that, particularly with our clients and a lot of the recruitment agencies we're involved in, seems to be a real focus for this year. Do you have any advice for recruitment agencies who are looking to make that transition? What can they do? What's the first step in that journey to move away from that fast speed transactional recruitment and actually becoming a long-term partner?
Yeah, well, like anything, you can talk about something being a good idea. You've got to really buy into it, whether it's for your own business or you're part of a business that wants to go on a journey. So you've got to buy in and understand why actually moving into this different relationship with your clients is so critical and important. And then in terms of the relationship piece, a relationship absolutely fascinates me. People have been talking to us about relationships being important, being recruitment consultants, and that being important since we set up the TRN. But now you're starting to see people who really understand the science of a relationship and actually how powerful it can be that if you're sat at the top table of decision making and somebody's looking to evolve their talent strategy, requires a conversation with somebody who can add value to their thinking, which gets me thinking about, right, what value can I bring to the conversation? What do I know potentially that the employer doesn't know? And I think that's the exciting thing. If I think about some of our members, for example, who've really broken down the end-to-end client experience, so they map out those touch points that influence how they add value, how they're perceived, the relationship they've got, then you start to see people that are getting traction. And if you create that clarity for your team, then that's something that they can own. You can develop them in, you can train them in, they can start getting confidence in, you get wins, you start sharing the wins, celebrating the wins. But there's definitely a gap between the concept of relationship and best practice, where there is, like everything, there's a process behind it. And 20 years ago, I was somehow, because I certainly wasn't qualified, I found myself as a HR director for a FTSE business. I had 9,000 people. I was really popular with recruiters, but very, very few really understood how to add value to me. And there's so much an opportunity, because as a recruiter, you have insights into what the candidates are thinking and feeling, what a competitor's doing, etc. So you can add value to the decision makers and the people who are trying to evolve a talent strategy. And we've just got to think, what do I know that maybe they don't know, and therefore how can I add value? And what ultimately is a solution that might be attractive to them.
Yeah, well, like I said, with our clients, it's that conversation, but then how marketing can support that in terms of those thought leadership, content that you're creating and sharing, how that can be used as a sales enablement tool. So really feel that that's a big topic for this year. So we touched on what recruitment agencies are doing really well. What's not going so well? What's holding people back from making that next step? I don't know what the stat is, but there's a stat, particularly in the UK, that X amount of recruitment agencies don't get above 10 heads. Why is that? What's holding people back?
A lot of people hit ceilings because they're fundamentally moving into a place that they've never been before. So most of our members, some people are on the second gig, but most people have made a move into recruitment, decided to give it a go. Even if you've got management experience from a larger recruiter, it is different running your own business in terms of decisions you've got to make. So actually, how do I make the right decisions to give myself the best chance? So I think lack of strategy is quite often one where we onboard. I've probably onboarded personally 500 members into TRN. When I ask people, show me where you go and show me your strategy to get there, most people are relying on their experience that's helped them be an incredibly good recruiter and potentially a really good manager, but they haven't necessarily got the strategic clarity that allows them to get to this place. So I might have an aspiration to build a 40 headcount business focused in the US and the UK in engineering or whatever, but actually how you get there, you need to really understand strategy implementation. So that's definitely one. I think the second one I see all the time is this balance or imbalance between consolidation and scaling. So if you get to let's say the 10 headcount place, you're suddenly going to have to start relying on other people to do some of the things that you used to wrap your arms around themselves, and that's not always easy if you haven't built up the team behind you. So when we focus on consolidation with our members, it's saying, right, are you building on something solid so that when you add in new heads, it's not just going to crumble afterwards? And we've seen, you see a lot of that. So are we clear about the processes, our operating model, the data that's going to drive our performance and productivity? Are we strategically clear about from a discipline point of view, where we're going to focus our energy and effort? So it's a little bit, and if you don't have that right, you bring in more people, you get dilution, you'll get diluted strategy, your culture will be diluted, your process will go all over the place. So some of our most successful members have stopped when they've got from the kind of 5 to 10 head count and thought, actually, we've done well, I've got some good people, but we haven't really built a machine that we can build on. And once they get that and they start getting it right, then you can successfully scale.
One of the big, obviously, conversations over the last couple of years is the market. It's not been particularly positive. Has that influenced, I guess, those recruitment agencies and their ability to scale as much as we thought, or is it a lot around kind of those things that they're not doing?
That's a great question. I remember back in October 22, I did a big poll across the membership trying to understand, because we do a lot of benchmarking to understand where people are at and what they want to focus on and need to focus on. And 22 was a great year, business coming in, records months, records quarters. And when I did a poll around how fit for purpose is your business, is your BD team strategy machine, and very few said we're in a really good place because we've got so much business coming in and we're feasting on that. 6 months later, the market's turned a little bit. It's an awful lot harder. So that led to the realization I need to do something different. I need to shift the emphasis. I need to upskill. I need to get better at that kind of stuff. So it took a while for some people to react. The ones who reacted quicker and more agile to the market changing were the ones who actually, I'm not saying they had the funnest of years, but they had a better time. And what's interesting now is that having had 24, which was painful and a lot of people was happy to see the back of, is we've got a lot of optimism within TRN across the community. And I think because we've challenged ourselves collectively and as a community, and we've brought in experts just to really help our members become as good as they need to. But there is a recognition of the reality around the market. There is recognition that actually you can stand out and be better than others. There's a recognition that actually if I work out my model, what I'm going to back myself to excel at, then there's plenty of business out there. And I think that's what I love about SME recruiters, because some of the big players clearly have had some shocking results, like some of the smaller ones, but you can move quickly as a small SME recruiter. You can change your direction, you can change some habits, you can change your processes, you can make some investments that'll turn things around quickly. And what I'm seeing now is people who have confidence that reality in the market, but equally there's opportunities and can't be different, but we can definitely be better. So let's go and be better.
Do you think people have, you talked about the October 2022 and people not necessarily being prepped for having to do business development? Do you think people have learned their lesson from that situation and we're going into 2025 with recruiters that are confident with their BD strategies, or not so much?
I think as always you're going to get the early adopters and the early majority who get it and go for it. And then again, within our community, we spend a lot of time benchmarking best practice and case studying members who are really flying or doing something really, really well, so everybody else can see actually that's pretty cool, and then they start looking and saying actually I could do a bit of that. So I think there's definitely the opportunity is as big as ever, and we're actually quietly optimistic on behalf of our members, because if you get it right, you can have a great year, and there will be people who don't get it right, who remain transactional, who don't focus on, we picked 15 things that the future fit recruiter is going to be getting good at. If you don't have any of those, you'll fall by the wayside. But if you do, which most of our members do, then absolutely no reason to have a rewarding, successful, reputable business that stands out in the marketplace.
So this year we've got coming up, there was budget announcements at the end of last year. Do you think that's going to have an impact on what recruitment looks like this year as well, or do you think the worst of that is behind us in 2024?
We run CEO peer groups every couple of days. We'll have 10 to 12 members on a call. We'll chew the cud about various things and help each other with our challenges. And I've been asking that question, what's your anticipation going to be about the changes coming up in April? And pretty much all of them, since the budget announcement, they've got their mind around it. So it hasn't changed their strategy. They just know it'll have an impact, and that employers like recruiters will either outsource or look to see how they can gain some efficiencies. Ultimately, they've got to make money if they're in a commercial outfit. So they've got to find a way, and they'll reduce costs as they always have done. But it doesn't mean that the need to work with the right recruitment partners and talent partners isn't there as it ever has been. And I think you were at the event back in January where we had 250 recruitment leaders. The still number one business challenge is how do I attract and retain the best talent?
In their own businesses.
So that hasn't changed. So we need recruiters, and they're not very good at finding the hard to find talent, so we need specialist recruiters.
So we always say the same thing.
Yeah.
As a marketing agency, the hardest thing for us to do is market. For recruiters, the hardest thing for them to do is recruit, because you're doing it too busy doing it for everyone else. What about in terms of their clients and hiring? Have your members feel any impact on businesses putting a hold on their hiring strategies this year, factoring in that increase in national insurance, or is that not really what's being talked about?
It's not being talked about because
Well,
it's part of the market. You know, if you we've seen some of the horrendous numbers. If you're a big retailer, what it's going to cost you these increases. So we're I think there's a reality about the impact that's going to take place, but equally, life goes on. There's an opportunity out there. So just hone your skills, hone your superpowers, hone what makes you stand out, and get on with it. And that's why, you know, I said I wasn't a recruiter. I've learned to love recruiters for their resilience and their entrepreneurship and their the work ethic. They'll find a way through it. And I think there is more confidence there was in Q1 of 2024 because they got their mind around the market, and whatever news is out there. I think the entrepreneur is typically fairly resilient.
So predictions for 2025. It's going to be a fantastic year. It's going to be positive.
I think positive realism is what we're feeling at the moment. And you know, I speak to, as I said, 80 members a week in different ways, and I'm always testing the feel of the room, testing their mood. And there's still some pain out there, and some people are still trying to work out where their market's going to come back. But generally, they've got more clarity and confidence about how to build a successful recruitment business in 2025 than they did in the first quarter and half of 2024. So we're
Watch the space then.
Watch the space, yeah.
And in terms of, I guess, what recruitment agencies' goals are for 2025, you know, we're hearing definitely a lot of talk about the US wanting to open up over there, you know, higher rates, bigger market, bigger salaries, all those things. Are you feeling that as well with your members? Is there anything else that I guess is trendy this year that everyone wants to do or is looking at?
I think the US has always been trendy. You know, everybody's been the golden.
Feels more so than last 18
you're
months,
absolutely right. And I guess the Trump effect about America's going to be a great place to do business is a reality. We certainly encouraging our members to look at different opportunities. There's some quite interesting stuff happening out in the Gulf states. There's interesting opportunities, but again, even if you're UK focused, what's happening in the markets, and you know, I'm no geopolitician, but you know, I do understand that if you have a new Labour government that's got that have shared their plans for investment, then following some of those plans would be a good place to hang out. We all know that defence is going to be a lot of money spent on defence. You know, somebody was telling me media's not a great place to hang out with. Well, actually, as a overview, that's right. But if you look at something like MarTech, that's growing. So there are niches, and we've just got to understand our market. And if you look at the data, there's positive opportunity everywhere. If you carry on just focusing on what you've done before, then could be challenging.
And I assume you've got members who have done that move to the US market. What was the first step in that process for them? Was it that kind of mapping out and making sure that there was actually a need for I guess, their services over there?
Yeah, I think they know there's a market out there. I think probably there's more that got it wrong than got it right.
Okay.
And we've had a lot of members who have got it right and some that have got it wrong. But I think where are you going to go? What's your timing? What's your plan? How much are you going to invest? How much can you invest? And ultimately, if you want to put boots on the ground, who's going to be the person that's going to take what you do so successfully in the UK over to the US? And I think where it goes wrong, it's typically you don't have the right person who's going to take your values, your way of doing things, who really wants it enough to build something in the US. And if that goes wrong, you're stuffed. So you'll be coming back home pretty soon, and it's expensive to get wrong. You know, you have to invest an awful lot. And it was really interesting. The other. We did 3 beautiful case studies the other day. One with a member who'd built community, absolutely superbly. One who'd really.
So just to go into that, what do you mean by community? That they've What have they been doing to?
So they've effectively decided that moving away from being a transactional recruiter is that they wanted to position themselves at the heart of the community that they wanted to hang out with in order to build relationships, so online events, face-to-face events. They've got a couple of businesses, one in procurement, one in HR. So they built an HR community for fairly obvious reasons. And they've just invested time to understand who that community might be made up of. They've invested time in terms of reaching out to individuals to get the momentum. So they're bringing in some interesting people to get other people interested. And they've built this HR community where people want to be part of it, reach out to them proactively to say, can I be part of this community? Can I come to your next event? Has allowed them to pick up the phone to all sorts of people that wouldn't have touched them afterwards. And they're just the win-win-win. They've got tangible ROI from it. So it's a really exciting play. And we've seen a lot, and I know you've been in front of our members helping some of them build communities. And we've seen a lot of people do that successfully last year, whether face-to-face or online. So I think people get it as a play, and it can just transform relationships. And how you're positioned.
Yeah, sorry, I interrupted you there. We had 3 beautiful case studies.
Beautiful case study number 1. Beautiful case study number 2 was somebody that really did understand one of the 15 future fit traits that we're pushing, which is around data-led leadership. So they've invested in Power BI underpinning everything they do. And as a result of that, they're extracting data from their business that they can give to clients to help educate them and add value to them. But equally, they can help understand exactly how to drive performance, productivity, and productivity. So data-led leaders is everybody should be. And again, we're seeing a lot more investment and people getting better at that. And the third one was around the candidate experience. So we had a public sector multi-award winning member who's just really decided from day one that their hedgehog, their superpower, was going to be around the candidate experience, because a lot of candidates were clients, etc. And they were just sharing their experience of working year after year to build a candidate experience that nobody could touch, and how that had generated opportunities and leads, etc., etc. So those are people who have intentionally, and the reason I mention that is it's about having the long play. Every one of our members says, I'm not going to be able to do that this quarter, but actually if I work hard at it in the next 9-12 months and beyond, we can do something that will really make a difference to us. And I know you've done some great sessions about how to build podcasts, but it's that continuation. I believe in this strategy. I'm going to keep at it. I'm going to understand it. I'm going to get good at it. I'll probably make some mistakes, but I'll get there because I believe it's the right strategy. And all of those members that get that right, they have just identified the 2 or 3 things that are going to help them stand out. And it's great. It's great to see. And
it's, I guess, with your members, they're all sharing those pieces of advice with each other. Are you seeing that generally people are receptive to that and are getting excited and picking it up and running with it?
They love it. And I think we've got really good over the years. I mean, I was on a call the other day with 10 members. They all employed somewhere between 5 and 15 people. And we were focused on marketing because, again, as you know, way better than me, but unless we're able to build brand, unless we're able to communicate our expertise, then we're really missing a trick. And I had on this call 10 or so people. We were talking about how good you think you are at marketing, and only one person said, I think I've nailed that. It's a differentiator. I know the ROI I get from the investment in marketing, and I'm just going to continue to invest in it. All the other 9 said, I've tried some stuff, it's not really working. If that's the case, go and work with Prominence. But
thank you for the plug.
But so we just said, okay, just talk us through your journey. What is it you do that gives you that confidence and clarity that your marketing strategy is paying a return, and that it's a critical strategy for your journey? And I think we've got 20 minutes of just asking them questions, and they loved it.
Yeah.
Everyone was scribbling down. Everyone was taking away thoughts and ideas. And I think that's going back to why community is so powerful, because we've got the answer to everybody's challenge somewhere in the community. And whether it's through other members, whether it's through experts like you guys, or whether it's through getting a bunch of people in a room and saying, listen, what do we think the best way to do that is, you can find the answer. And if we can help people find the answer and then share it, then
Invaluable.
Happy days.
Don't have to spend time going out and looking for it. The time investment is the biggest thing.
Well, that's the thing, because if you run a business, I run a business. If you're trying to find the solution on your own,
there's only so much ChatGPT can tell you.
Yeah.
How to make my recruitment agency successful, because you just don't get what you want. So thanks so much for being on the podcast. There's 2 final questions that I always wrap up with our guests. First one, what are the 3 personal traits that you think have made you successful in your career? What advice would you give to other people who are looking to be as successful as you, or on their rise to prominence?
So number 1 is curiosity, definitely. I failed catering college. I wasn't very good at school. But from my late 20s, I just became a learning machine, and I just love finding out what it is that helps people succeed. So I think our most successful members are also the most curious, and if you can get that curiosity across everybody, it's really exciting. So I love speaking to anybody and finding out what is it they do and how they do it, what works, what doesn't. So that's number 1. I think the second thing I've learned, which I definitely didn't have in my early days, because in my teens I had loads of self-esteem challenges, but is you can be pretty extraordinary. My first business was a family business. We were up in a funny place called Runcorn in Cheshire. We decided we were going to be the best in the country, and we went on a 10-year journey. We grew it to 1,200 people, £200 million business. Nobody could touch us. And I suddenly learned, actually, if you really set your mind to it, if you learn, you work hard, and you bring in the right leadership and get the right culture, etc., you can build something extraordinary. So I've now very excited on behalf of all the people we work with, because I know you can outperform everybody else. It's definitely possible.
The opportunities there.
You can definitely do it. I've done it, made loads of mistakes, but you can definitely do it. So that's believe in how great you can be. And I think the third one, and it's probably an age thing, is it's just about enjoying it. I did a few jobs over the years. I now do a job that I love, and I don't mind working really hard because I actually enjoy it. I have great relationships with members and partners, and I think if you can find a job that you love, you can do some really cool stuff. If you're doing something you don't really love, you'll never create something exceptional that puts a smile on your face in your rocking chair.
Well, I think solid advice.
It won't be that far away.
Solid advice. Final question: if you're going to nominate anyone else to come on the podcast, who would that be? Who's had a instrumental rise to prominence in your life that you think would be good to sit here and tell me about their journey?
Rise to prominence in my life. Well, the biggest influence, unfortunately, is no longer with us. But I thought of 2 people, and I'm going to answer it a slightly different way. I think and actually I went for 2 recruitment entrepreneurs, one of whom is a woman called Jen Gaster, who is the sort of member that turned me from being a little bit cynical as a non-recruiter about the world of recruitment, who helped me really just admire what a great recruitment entrepreneurs can do in terms of building a business. And I'm a massive fan of her, the business philosophy. And the other one is a guy I met many years ago, pretty soon after we set up TRN, who again is a recruitment founder, who just totally embodied every philosophy that I learned when we built our business, about being obsessive about the customer experience. And it's Nick Eves, who runs Stanton House. So just 2 very cool business leaders.
Reach out to them for sure.
Tell them
I will do. But thank you so much for being involved.
Pleasure.
And we'll catch up soon. Thanks,
Loved
Gordon.
it.
Bye.